Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Pipeline Podcast, episode 141. I am joined by the one, the only, the fabulous, the amazing Everest Leach, host of the Mountaintop Podcast. How's it going, buddy? How's it going?
How's it going? Glad to be back. Thank you for having me on. Always a pleasure to stop by the Pipeline. I love watching your the little intro because I get to see all the different Darren hairstyles and outfits and hats you've got on. And
yeah, it was a goal to be like, how
time.
many hats can I fit in one various intro?
You've got a great one on today, I may add. The watermelon combo, looking fresh.
Thank you. Yeah, welcome back to the show. Obviously, like, you're a guest. I always get very excited when I have you on the roster. You've been on a good number of times at this point. We did Barbieheimer, we did Spider-Verse, we've done end of the year episodes, we did Oscars. Like, you're just this kind of rotating guest that I can have on a couple times a year, talk the shit. And how have you been? How's it been going?
I've been good. Going through I shared a little bit with you some changing personal life stuff here the last couple weeks. Just trying to figure some stuff out on the work end of things. But other than that, I'm good, man, and I'm so excited to be here.
So excited to have you back. Yeah, today, similarly to about this time last year, I think it was last March when we did our halfway through the year recap of the year. And 2025 is a very interesting year, I'd say, for like at least the blockbuster side of movies, because this is another one of those like COVID-esque years where it's like everything that couldn't get out via the writer strike a couple years back is now all kind of coming out now.
Sure.
And Marvel's getting a lot of those stuff out. DC's getting their stuff started. Like, it feels like all the studios are like, oh shit, we can get back to normal now. Let's put all our stuff on the table. And I think it's been an interesting year for movies, and we're going to be talking about that a little later in today's episode, along with what's to come, because I feel like, at least as long as I've been doing the show, this is the craziest blockbuster season I've entered into, where it's like I'm writing out my roster for the rest of the summer. I'm like, I don't have time for anything else but new movies to talk about, because every single weekend, sometimes like 3 times a weekend, there's like a new movie coming out.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah. It's going to be good, though. I'm excited.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's going to be a very fun time. But we're going to just hop into today's episodes with our creator spotlight segments. Now, you're the only person up until this point that will have been taking creator spotlight twice. You're the first person to go through it a second time. About 3 months ago, we had you on the show. We're kind of new to it. And I was very curious, because normally when I do the show, the first question I usually ask people is like, why did you start your channels? Why did you start a podcast? Why did you do all this? And it's normally people they've been doing it for a while. And obviously you've been on the YouTube space for a long time. You know, what is it? 6, 7, 8 years at this point? But
like 8 years probably.
Yeah. But now you're kind of stepping back into that light a little bit, having taken a break via high school and college and just the various stuff you were doing. You recently launched a new podcast, right?
Yeah, I did. It's called The Mountaintop, a little play on words with my name, Everest. Thought long and hard about that one. No, but yeah, I launched a new podcast, and you're right. I've been more out than in of the YouTube space, I would say, the last couple of years, especially later high school, starting college. Just didn't find that it was like what I wanted to be doing with my time all the time. But now, especially with some changes going on, I felt like this was the perfect time to launch something new and launch something that is right up my alley for where I'm at right now in my life.
Sure.
And so the mountaintop is mainly sports focused, sports centered. I'm going to be doing a lot of sports talk. The first episode's up now, so it's kind of, I tried to make the first episode a real teaser of who I am and what I'm going to be kind of bringing to that show, and the stuff that I want to be talking about. And so it's going to be sports debate, takes, going over current events that are happening in sports. But I also, you know me, I mean, I'm a huge movie guy. I'm still a big pop culture guy, and I'm going to try to inject that where I can. I did a little pop culture corner, I called it, in the first episode. So taking a break from the sports, I'm always going to want to talk film. But yeah, I figured that I could use a longer form place to just kind of be creative again, especially over the summer. When I'm at college, I do have those creative outlets, whether it's stuff that I'm working on for classes or stuff that I'm working on for extracurriculars or even my job there. But coming back home for the summer, I felt it was the perfect time to start something like that, and a brand of my own, so to speak.
Sure. Like, I think that being able to express yourself creatively is always such a important key, and something that I found I very much needed. Like, when I went on vacation last year, it was like the first time in a while where I had like a whole week where I wasn't doing like anything creatively. It was like a whole week of just me doing nothing really. Obviously we were doing various stuff, throughout the cities and stuff like that. But it was like, I don't have a microphone in front of me. I don't have a notepad in front of me. I don't have anything.
Sure.
And I felt being very like stir crazy of like, I just sit here and on my phone? Like, this is horrible. And I imagine, I imagine college life is very crazy. It's very hectic. You're very busy. You're very, hands-on. I was listening to your show, and it seems like you were doing a lot of like hands-on activities, like with what you're working on over there. And it sounds like probably going back to the summer at home, it's probably like, well, what do I do now?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so, no, but I'm excited about it. Obviously, just one episode up so far, and hopefully going to try to record another one in the near future here. But yeah, it's been fun creating a whole new like banner and sort of look for it and everything was interesting too. And I might still be tweaking some of that, but yeah.
Sure. Is this the end of Arcanize then? Are we burying that channel and then creating a new one, or is it kind of maybe go back to that one at some day?
Yeah, I want to keep the Arcanize channel up. I created the Mountaintop on a new account, new channel, and I'm definitely not going to say I'm going to be uploading on Arcanize a ton again, like completely revitalizing it. I mean, there were years where I uploaded every day on that channel, and can't say those videos were great, but they were fun while I was in the moment, and I always appreciated the support on that. So if there is something that is, movies are really speaking to me in a certain way, or I want to do something shorter form, or any little ideas like that, I think I'm definitely still going to have Arcanize around. I can't say it'll be, alive and up and running at, peak form, but it's not going away.
Yeah, there's a lot of history there. Like I was prepping for this episode, and I stumbled back upon that channel, and I went back to like that first live stream, and it's just,
oh no,
you on a couch, and this is like all of our friends are just like in the comments, just like chatting with you and like pushing you on. And it was like, man, you were very little, a very little kid, and I was listening to your podcast this week, your new episode. It was a great episode. It was very cool. And I was listening through, and I was realizing, like, I feel like my perspective on you hadn't shifted that much, right? Like, we don't talk as much as we used to back in the day. Sure. Nobody's fault whatsoever, obviously. But like, I was listening to, and I was like, this is a different person. This is a different guy that I didn't realize existed yet. Because I feel like within our friendship, in my mind, you are still the like little brother of the group, which is silly because you're not that much younger than us, right? We're all relatively
but that's fair. Age. That's definitely how I felt a lot of the time. I feel like as I've gotten older, and we've all gotten older, some of that has gone away definitely now, where we're just all like adults doing our
Yeah.
own adult things, living life, different
Mhm.
points in our life, but still, I feel like we've gotten closer in that aspect, even though we don't talk as much as we used to.
That is true. Yeah, it's been interesting to see, like, I think we've all kind of entered that new era in the last, like, 2 years or so of, like, oh, we're all kind of in various different places, and, like, inherently there is that fear at first where it's like, oh my gosh, we're never going to talk to each other again. Oh my gosh, we're all, but I feel like we always kind of make our way back, and, like, once we do, it's like, oh, we're good. It's like
Yeah.
no time has passed. Like we're
Mhm.
good. And I think that's a fear that so many friendships have over the years. Like, oh, like once you move on from high school and college and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
But how has the college life been for you? I was listening to the podcast obviously, and I was so intrigued about, you go for sports communication, right?
Correct. Yeah.
How is that? Because that is definitely a very different genre of career or outreach than we typically have on the show. It's a lot of like influencers and
Mhm.
reaction channels and various different stuff. How is it going into that field? Because I feel like I don't know anyone else within that genre of field, if you will.
Yeah. So yeah, I major in sports communication. I minor in journalism
Cool.
at my college, and I love it. I mean, it's been a really good 2 years for me, and honestly, like, I'm excited to go back again. I really like Boston, the city where it's located. Um, but yeah, I would say I mean, a lot of what I want to do, I'm still using skills and ideas and creativity that
Mm,
I kind of fostered in this YouTube, more like
mm,
comic book content, movies, television, this sort of community. I'm still transferring that, being on camera from a young age. Like, being on camera is something I'll want to do and be very
mm,
comfortable doing as a career or in my future, whether that's for a news corporation or a sports organization like
right.
ESPN, or a sports team, um, being an analyst or a content creator for them in some form or way. Like, being on camera is not going to go away. The ability to, like, communications, I think I say the sports part because it is what the first word of that, and it comes first.
Hmm.
But at the end of the day, I'm studying communications as a whole, and
Right.
like the basics of that. And so I think that's super applicable in a lot of ways. And then journalism, I feel like I've always been a good writer and like to write, and
Mm,
learning sort of formats and how to break those formats, but ways to channel that into something that could potentially be a career or just helpful for a career, um, has been really cool too. So yeah, I am very in the sports media world right now, which I would imagine is very different than most of what you get here on the show.
sure.
Um, but I would say it's still the same passion that I would have for
Mm,
something like the MCU 6 years ago. It's still the same, um, like, interest and some of the same
mm,
skill sets that are, how do we talk about this thing in an interesting way that
right.
I find fulfilling and that other people are going to enjoy, and kind of tailoring that more to sports in a sense.
Yeah, I was so interested, or I was so happy to hear how passionate you were about the thing that you are currently studying, because I feel like that
Hmm.
is, sometimes that's not always the case. Sometimes people go and
Oh
they're
yeah.
like, "Well, I hate this shit. I don't want to do this."
Hmm.
And I feel like, despite us, I feel like on different corners of the internet nowadays, I feel like the like core fundamentals are still there. I feel like the core fundamentals of these lines that are crossed, like, I don't know sports, I don't know that world whatsoever, but the way you were talking about sports and how you approach it and how you feel about that industry and how we should approach it, as an art form and not just like the like business side of it. And
Hmm.
like I loved hearing how passionate you were, and that brought a smile to my face. I was like, oh yeah, he's on the right path. He's doing what he loves, and that makes me happy.
Well, I appreciate that, man. Thank you.
Of course, of course. But obviously, everyone watching either here or on playback, go make sure to check out his podcast. First episode is on there right now. Even if you don't like sports, like I still found it quite entertaining to be like, okay, these various different aspects of the media still at least a fascinating conversation to be had, at least.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Absolutely. So yeah, without further ado, we're gonna be jumping into today's episode. When it comes to the news stories, when I have you on, it's always a very interesting when I have to sit down and be like, okay, obviously, like we do a lot of MCU, we do a lot of superhero stuff. It's like, what are still some conversations that I think Everest would still at least have an interesting conversation or perspective on? Shout out to Cody in the chat. Hello, Cody. How's it going? I'll be here for a little bit, but I'll be off to ride some dragons. Enjoy.
That's awesome.
I'm scared to watch that movie. I hope it's good. I hope I like it.
I feel very conflicted about that movie, and I have ever since it was announced. And I hope that the people who are going love it. I've heard like good things, like it has good reviews. Yeah. I don't know. We don't have to get into that right now. That's probably a whole other tangent we can go down. And
it is a whole tangent. And I think, like, just to go on a tangent, just slightly, just a little itty bitty bit, I feel like it's exactly what I thought it would be. Where like everyone is like, it's a really good movie, but it's the same movie. And it's like, okay, yeah, if you remake a masterpiece, you might get a masterpiece in return. So I guess it just depends if that's what you like out of your movies. Like if you just want the story told again exactly the way it was previously, I guess.
Right.
But to carry over on another nostalgic story, I don't know if you saw this. Mel Brooke announces Spaceballs sequel with new meta teaser trailer. Now this came out literally like it was like 4 or so hours ago. Now I brought this up because we talked about this like a couple months ago. I was like, oh, you like mentioned Spaceballs and like I mentioned the sequel. You're like, they better not. And I was like, well, it might be coming. I mean, you love the first one, right? You love that like original Spaceballs movie.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Spaceballs. I think it's one of the best spoof comedies ever made. I think it's awesome. I don't know if it was worth making you watch it as one of your time-honored, your prestigious tradition of New Year's movies. I don't know if it was necessarily the best pick for that, but I love it. I think it's hilarious.
I went from La La Land to Spaceballs.
That's what you got to do. That's the path.
I was like, you know what? It wasn't a bad choice. It wasn't a bad choice. You know, I haven't seen it since, and I don't know all the background on the movie that some people will. And I obviously don't have the love for it that many people who either grew up on it or is a long time traditioned, you know, watching it, you know, with their families and stuff like that. Do you want a sequel? Is this a movie that you want to see get a follow-up?
I personally probably don't. I think that original is so magical, and I think that Star Wars in general, which Spaceballs is a spoof of, has not that there hasn't been good Star Wars since, you know, even going back to the prequels, like there has been good Star Wars, but I do feel like that Spaceballs comes out at a time where Star Wars is so singular and so like beloved, and so like Star Wars is magical because it's the original trilogy and it blew everyone's minds and it was so new, and for Spaceballs to kind of go off of that, I think that's part of what makes it special. Now there's nothing to be said that you can't do one that takes on all of the new Star Wars that we've gotten since then and maybe plays on that. I would just be a little more hesitant towards it, I think, considering where do you even start at this point without it feeling either derivative of the original, which I don't really want, or all over the place, or not having like not feeling very tight or concise. So that would be my initial thoughts, but obviously I haven't read the script for this new supposed sequel, so I don't know. Maybe it's brilliant. Maybe it's gonna rock.
Yeah, I could really see it going either way. Like you said, there's been a lot of new Star Wars, and like even inside that trailer they posted, and they were like, okay, there's been 50 Star Wars and Avengers movies, and you know, Jurassic Parks and Aliens, and it's like there's a lot that they can pull from in terms of material and making fun of the genre. And like, yes, it was a Star Wars parody, but it was also just a genre parody at the time, right? It was making fun of all sorts of movies from that era. So I'm curious. I wouldn't say I'm excited. I feel like I guess I don't want it to come across as like mean either, right? Like I think Star Wars is definitely like a very low-hanging fruit at the moment. And I feel like it could very easily be a let's kick them when they're down situation instead of like, hey, let's celebrate the medium and hey, isn't this funny together? Because like, again, I didn't watch that movie when it came out, obviously, but to me it felt like, yes, they were making fun of Star Wars, but it felt more of like a celebration of Star Wars and less of a, hey, look how stupid Star Wars is. It's like, let's be stupid together kind of thing. So
I agree full-heartedly. Yeah, I don't know. I also think it's just like, why now? Like, spoof comedies as a whole have been pretty much done away with. Like, I don't think we've gotten a whole lot of like really mainstream true spoofs.
Right. Oh. Uh-oh. Well, he's vanished for now. I don't. Oh, is he back? He's back.
We can't overcome the curse of the Darren and Everest. No. I don't know what happened there. Hopefully, it doesn't keep happening. I wonder if it would be helpful for me to like log in on StreamYard or have an account. Maybe it's that. But yeah, I don't even remember where I was going with this really.
You were talking about like spoof movies and how they're not really a thing anymore.
Yeah, I think we've gone away from, because it used to be like 80s and 90s and even 2000s scary movies. Spoof was such a clear-cut genre that there were these like Hot Shots and Airplane and the Naked, although we are getting a Naked Gun remake as well.
And
so
a
maybe
new scary
it is
movie as well.
Oh yeah, I either didn't know about that or forgot about it. So they're trying to make a comeback clearly right now.
Right.
And I don't know if it's the time for it. The other thing I would say to your point about it potentially being mean and where Star Wars is at is that the Star Wars fan base has been so divided for so long. And I think there's a lot of bad stuff within the Star Wars fandom currently. And I feel like spoofs are always going to potentially lean into a worse side of a fandom or a fan base if you're not careful. Like, it could give these people who we don't want to be their thoughts or their opinions on the franchise to be magnified sort of a platform to say, look at this spoof talking about what I've been, when in reality we know it's a parody, but some people aren't going to know that, and I think it could be problematic.
I already see all the Twitter posts that are like, this is better than anything Disney Star Wars has done. It's like, oh boy, all right. So that's gonna be. I'm definitely very curious, like what the culture is going to be around this time.
Again, could be great. I don't know. Like, I don't want to say it couldn't be really funny, but I'm not.
It's also going to be curious whether Star Wars is in 2027, because by that point they will be finally back in the cinemas. You know, we're going to have the Mandalorian and Grogu movie and a couple of the like Ryan Gosling Star Wars movie. I think should also be, or that might be the same year or something. I don't know which one will end up coming out first, but the same year generally. So we shall see. This next story, and I'm not sure if you're caught up on the show or not, but I feel like you could at least, give your general thoughts on this if you haven't. Ben Stiller talks the potential of spin-offs in the world of Severance. Two ideas have been talked about. So you brought me on into the Severance world. You for like years were like, you gotta watch the show. You will love the show. I'm like, I'll get to it, and I watched it. Was it last year? Yeah, it was last year. It was the end of last year going into this year with the new season that had come out. And I adore it. I think it's a phenomenal show. Have you seen the newest season yet?
No, I'm not all the way caught up. This was a classic case of there was so long between seasons, and then it was like, oh, I have to dive back into another. I did start it, and I've got to make my way through, because this is a show. Season 1 of Severance was one of the most life-changing seasons of TV that I've really watched. Like, it was one of the first times out of, like, because I used to watch just a lot more TV. And Severance was one of those first shows where I was kind of in a position of not really being as into TV, that I was hooked from the start. I was keeping up every week. I was watching it because I just thought it was so unique and so engaging. But then, they had such a long break between seasons that it sort of I feel sort of scared to tap back in, but I've heard good things about season 2 overall.
Mhm.
So I should definitely check it out at some point. But spin-offs would be interesting. I haven't I'm not fully caught
Sure.
up, so I don't know where season 2 goes. Um but it does feel like a world that is open to spin-offs. Now, will they have the care put into them that I would want or that makes
Right.
them truly worth it? Who knows? But I think it's like the potential is there.
Agreed. Agreed. I think like sometimes you hear about like franchises trying to evolve, and you're like, man, I don't want it to be too much. I don't want them to overdo the market. But Severance is such an interesting world, and it's such an interesting concept inherently. If you
Mhm.
wanted to, you could even just do like, hey, this is another building. Like this is just new characters in
Oh
a
yeah,
different
this is
building and
another
their
company
journey.
where this is also happening. Like,
Right.
yeah,
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 so like
definitely.
definitely, and I also think to cover your thing with like the breaks in between seasons, what I think a lot of the shows have been doing, like shows like The Boys have done very well. It's like they have two shows on at a time, and they know they can't get a season out every year. So what they do is like, okay, this year is the main show, and then the following year is the spinoff. And they kind of go back and forth, and it helps that break not feel so long in between seasons to kind of buffer them
Yeah.
a little bit. Bridgerton did the same thing a couple years ago. There's a lot of shows I feel like are trying to go that approach. So yeah, I'm definitely open to it. I'm not against it. I'd be willing to see. I would love if Ben Stiller and the whole crew is still connected because what they are working on is
Oh yeah,
so
Ben Stiller's got to be involved. He's kind of the brainchild behind Severance, and I
yeah.
love the guy. I think he's so creative. I think for him to go from like being viewed pretty solely as this like stupid comedy guy who
Right.
just did every dumb comedy imaginable in the 2000s to like this
Yeah.
really cerebral filmmaker that's making some of the most interesting stuff out there today. I'm glad I could finally put you on to Severance because I do think it's like I don't know if there's been a show made that feels exactly like it. Like it truly is singular in my mind.
It is. Yeah. I think it is the best show on TV right now. Like, obviously, I'm not
Mm.
watching all the shows. There's so many I'm missing, but I think out of the stuff that is currently ongoing, I'm like, I think it takes the cake. I think it's up there
Yeah.
for me. I think for sure. Um, so our final news story, and this is kind of like there's a couple news stories attached to this.
Hmm.
And I know you're not as into the comic book sphere as you maybe once were, but I do feel like you may at least have some input on this in some way, shape, or form. Entertainment Weekly new interview with James Gunn reveals some new pressing information about the future of the DC universe. Now, Superman
Hmm.
comes out in about a month. Marketing has been through the roof. We've gotten interviews. There's been press and commercials and all the various things that happens when a big blockbuster movie comes out. Before I
Yeah.
go into this, like, how are you feeling about the DCU? I know you've kind of wavered off the MCU a little bit. You're not as into that as you used to. Are you excited for the next era of DC, or is that a train you're planning on jumping onto, or are you maybe going a different direction?
I'm gonna see Superman for sure. I'm excited about Superman. Um, I mean, I trust James Gunn. The only thing that's been like, I do think from the marketing, the new Superman movie, the visuals look kind of weird. They
Mm,
don't like it's not as the colors are kind of off, and it feels a little bit dull in terms of just the actual visual style. But the direction and all the stuff like following Superman as he flies, and we're seeing like him punching a guy's teeth out in slow mo as they hit off a camera, like that
right.
stuff rocks.
Yeah.
So I'm excited for Superman. I inherently trust James Gunn as a filmmaker. You're right. I have just not been able to be as into comic book stuff as I once was. And so for me, whereas if this was starting up again 5 years ago, 6 years ago, whatever, I would have been very much like on the train no matter what. Like, let's do it. I'm so excited.
Hmm.
I'm going to get hyped for everything. You don't even have to just announce what it is, and I'll be excited. And I'm there
Right.
watching day one. I think I am now in a little bit of a like, you've got to earn it and prove
Mm,
it to me mode where I'm going to see Superman for sure. And I hope it's great. But if I don't love Superman, I'm not just gonna rush out to everything they're doing just because it's DC. I think
Yeah,
there's a lot of potential, and I think there's a lot of reasons to be excited, but I also think they've had some trouble getting even this universe off the ground,
sure.
aside from Superman, which is finally coming out now. How many projects were originally announced that have been altered a little bit or
Yep.
delayed, or we don't know, like The Brave and the Bold, we don't know what's happening with that. Is it
No.
done? I know there's been a lot of talk about Wonder Woman. So I just think we're not far in enough yet to where I can say, oh, yeah, I'm fully on board. But
Fair.
I hope I can get on board. I hope
Right.
Superman is good, and I hope I can get back into it.
Very valid. Very valid. So yeah, I do just want to talk a couple of things from this interview, and then there was also an announcement that came out today. A lot of it was like stuff we already knew. Like some was like, Maxwell Lord's a billionaire, and it's like, yeah, that makes sense. You know, Green Lantern rings are powerful. It's like, yeah, we kind of knew that. That's kind of their whole thing. I only bring this one up because it's you, and I guess I'll just reinforce this conversation we've had on here before. James Gunn said the Batman Part 2 is really important to what they're trying to build at DC. We're supposed to see that script shortly, and I can't wait. We've talked about the Batman Part 2, I think, almost in every episode you've done on this show. We keep being like, it's coming, guys. It's coming soon. Trust it's coming soon. Since the last time you were on, or even the time before that, are you any less excited for that movie? Are you any more excited for that movie? Is there any changes in your mind in terms of that movie coming out?
I just want it to come out, dude. Like at this point, I'm not gonna be shocked if we never get it. I'm not gonna be that disappointed. Obviously, we've already lost Matt Reeves as the director, right? And he's still gonna be staying on as for the script,
I
or
think
is
he's
he
still the
directing it in
director.
there? Okay,
He's
he's
still
still the
directing it.
director,
Yeah.
and they're getting more help for the script or something. Something came out where Matt Reeves was stepping away from it in some shape or form. I don't remember the exact details, but
I think there were rumors going around. I know there was, a couple of those big faces that were like, something's happening with him, and
okay.
he's sick or whatever, and everyone's kind of like, no, no one said that kind of thing, and it's like one of those like wildfires that kind of gets spread. But maybe there is, like, I just think, like, officially to the press, there's been nothing official to have come out. He's still working on it. It's just, it's taking a while.
Yeah.
I
hope Matt Reeves stays as involved as possible.
Yes,
I do think he's an amazing talent. The issue for me is we are now getting to the point where to uphold like a feasible reality in my mind, you can't just pick it up right where the Batman Part 1 or the first Robert Pattinson movie left off. Like, you're gonna have to figure out a time jump, something, because I mean, Robert Pattinson still looks great. Like, he looks phenomenal. He's aging very well, but he is going to be in his late 30s filming this movie,
and it's supposed to be like Batman Year 1.
You can't. Yeah, he's like year 2 in the first one. He is a young Batman. And you can't. For me, you can't pass it off as, oh, he's still just starting out when there's been 5 years in between these movies, and Robert Pattinson is pushing 40. Now, that's not to say you can't pivot and figure out a great story to tell with Robert Pattinson's Batman a bit older and a bit more experienced. But I do think it kind of Part 1 sets up so well for like the near future. And I don't know if that's going to work as well, just given how long it's been now.
And I'd argue that's kind of the fun of that first movie, is we get a young Batman, in like contrast to what the like DCU's trying to do, who has
and
Batman
he's messing up. He's making mistakes. And he's getting
50s. Yeah,
he's getting his butt kicked, and he's messing up a wingsuit flight because he's never done it before, and he's
exactly.
Yeah.
And I think my biggest thing, and I know this is kind of contrast to what you're saying, but like, it's also a little frustrating that seemingly we can't move forward with the DCU Batman movie, the Brave and the Bold movie, because we're kind of waiting on this one, and if we're not getting, the Batman Part 2 till 2027, if not 2028, then what, we're looking at 2030 for Brave and the Bold, and it's like, we have something else here in a second I'll bring up, but it's like, I am very concerned about, like, what is the DCU Batman going to look like? Are we going to be leaning into what the DCEU had to do with, where they couldn't get a Batman movie off the ground either? And it's like, oh man, like, this is a tough situation to be in, and it's not necessarily anyone's fault. Like, I'm glad they didn't just write off that version of the character because we're rebooting again. Like, we've seen that time and time again, and it's messy and it's weird, but it's also like, there isn't a right answer, and inherently it's also just kind of a messy situation, I feel.
I agree. It's a mess. I mean, ultimately, I do hope that the Batman Part 2 comes out in some form, just because I love that first movie so much. I think Matt Reeves is awesome, and I love Robert Pattinson's performance and take on this character. But at the same time, it is now posing a lot of problems, both storytelling-wise, how it's going to flow from the first one having such a big gap, and, like you're talking about, how it fits into the new DCU that they're trying to start.
For sure. Next one here. James Gunn says he is developing in some way a Superman sequel. But is it a straight up sequel? Not necessarily. So this has been, like, people have been going on at frets about this. Like, oh, are they doing, a Brave and the Bold? Are they doing some kind of Superman Supergirl movie? Are they doing a crypto movie? Like, what? Like, what is this gonna be? Now, obviously, movie hasn't come out yet, and obviously, if it bombs or something, obviously this would never see the light of day, obviously. So, and I feel like the James Gunn, you do kind of have to take a little bit of that with a grain of salt, with however many announcements that have been teased or announced and all that jazz. But what does this read to you? Do you think this is like a Brave and the Bold kind of situation, or do you think this is something else?
I don't know. I mean, I haven't read the exact interview and, like, what people are saying. This is, like, what you're telling me is all that I'm hearing on it.
Mm-hmm.
I would guess that it honestly might just be more of a, like, we're definitely doing a lot more with Superman after this first movie.
Sure.
And we're just not going to let on exactly what our plans are for it yet. I personally would love a Brave and the Bold in live action. It would be hard to pull off, but I think it would be so sick. Like, I would love that. Or like, Earth's Finest, whatever. Like, I'm not as into the crypto thing. As
I was halfway joking on the crypto thing, but I mean, we're getting a crypto series, a like animated crypto series, so it's not off the table. I think my only thing with it, because I do think that'd be awesome. I think that'd be incredible. My only thing is, like, I wish we could get a Batman movie first, right? Yeah. Like, that's the thing. It's because that's the same thing that the DCEU did. They're like, okay, we'll do a Superman movie, and then we'll do a Man of Steel sequel, but it's Batman v Superman, and it's like, well, you don't really get either of what you want by doing that. But, like, again, that goes into what we were just saying. If you can't do a Brave and the Bold right now, do that instead while you're waiting for Matt Reeves, and their stuff. So it's like, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I think there is a way to do it in which it would work, just because audiences have spent so much time with Batman in general. And so if you give Batman really good storytelling and kind of, there's a way to make sure the audience gets who a new Batman is without 2 hours of his origin story or flashbacks, or, like, you can do it. And I do think because obviously Batman v Superman is not a world's finest, like, they're enemies, they're fighting, they team up in the end, but I do think it would be awesome to see a true, like, team up between these two on the big screen, and it's just them and working with that dynamic. I think it'd be super fun. I think it is challenging, especially if you're not going to get a standalone Batman movie first. But yeah, I think it's just too early to tell on a lot of this, unfortunately.
It is, yeah. Like a lot of it is definitely speculatory, and, like, we don't know. Like, maybe Batman shows up in Superman. We don't know. Like, we have We have a Clayface movie we're getting next year after that. It's kind of in the group that they're talking, right? We're getting a Teen Titans movie, which I assume might feature, if not Bruce himself, we got like Damian Wayne in there. I assume maybe a Dick Grayson in there as well. So like we're definitely doing Bat related stuff in this universe so far. So maybe that is their just our plan of introducing him via these projects, then put him in the Superman movie, and then do a spin-off kind of thing.
Yeah,
we'll see. And then the final one, the one you've probably heard the most over this last week, they did announce that they are trying to work on a Wonder Woman project in the DCU, a Wonder Woman movie, I should say, because we already had the whole Paradise Lost thing announced.
Right.
I'm happy about this. This was like one of the big things out of that original announcement that I was like, I would have liked a Wonder Woman project. You have Superman, you have Batman. I think Wonder Woman very much gets underlooked out of like the main three. She's easily the one that gets the least to do in DC media. And I'm glad that there was at least seemingly something moving forward with that character.
Yeah, I'm in total agreement. I mean, she is in the DC Trinity, right, and it's for a reason, because she's dope. Like, she's awesome. And you're totally right. She just by far gets the least to do in terms of media and portrayals, and like we just don't get enough Wonder Woman. So I think she's a must-have in a DC universe, and I think she's a must-have earlier rather than later. So I have seen a ton of, like, obviously everyone thinking, who do they cast, or who do they, like, who's gonna play her? And I do think that Wonder Woman is a uniquely challenging character to cast going forward to get it exactly right. And like, I think Gal Gadot, looks wise and even performance wise in that first movie, she really worked based on the way she wrote that character. That was a good iteration. But as that universe went on and you ask her to do more, like we kind of saw, at least in my personal opinion, she does not have the acting chops of someone that I would want playing Wonder Woman.
Agreed.
And so because to me at least, Wonder Woman is a character that just looks a very specific way in my mind. And that's not to say that you can't differ from that. In fact, I would encourage it, but I think for so many people, it's Diana Prince all the time, and she has such a distinct look, and everyone, you see an image when you think of Wonder Woman.
Right.
And to get someone who embodies that while being a great actress, I think is challenging. But I'm excited for the movie. I think it's definitely necessary.
Agreed. Yeah, and I think we're in a space in media where Wonder Woman as a character and what she stands for is also very important for many, many people. And I think how do I want to say this? I feel like the character with who have previously played the characters, I feel like doesn't represent the character in the way that many people want her to be. And I think, yeah, you're right. It is very just as important as Superman, just as important as Batman. I'd argue even more important than Batman, because like Batman, I feel like I love Batman, but I feel like a lot of people could put on that cowl and play the character very well. Where I feel like a character like Wonder Woman is, you're right.
I think Batman's the easiest to cast. I think you can have so many actors that you can cast as Batman, and they're going to be. No, I think there's just so many different avenues you can take a character like Batman and make it really interesting. Like, I think Robert Pattinson's take is fascinating, but I also think Michael Keaton can play a brilliant Bruce Wayne and Batman, and I think Christian Bale works, and I think Ben Affleck's not my favorite, but that's another, like, he wasn't bad when they really gave him stuff to work with. So I think Batman is the easiest. I think Superman, there's less directions you can go with it, but the directions you need are really hard to find in, like, someone that comes off super authentic with it. And I think from everything I've seen, David is going to be great. Like, I have a lot of confidence in that casting, but I think Wonder Woman's the hardest.
Agreed. I'm excited that, like, I hope that's a project that gets, like, you know, pushed to the front of the line. Like, there's a lot of projects right now, and I don't know what, like, some of those early projects we don't even know is still happening at all. We don't know what they're going on there, but I hope it gets pushed to, like, you know, within the next 4 to 5 years at least. I don't have it on the thing here today, but Cameron says, Darren, have you seen we're getting a new adult animated Mr. Miracle series? I did see that. That was officially announced today. I'm not going to sit here and pretend I'm like the biggest Mr. Miracle fan. I know of him. I know kind of what side of DC he's a part of. I know he's a part of the like New Gods and everything that they have on going over there. I'm really glad people that are really into this character are getting that. Like, I know after that like New Gods movie was canceled, a lot of people were upset. People really wanted to see that. Do you have any history with this character at all? Is this a show that you're
I
at
know
all
nothing
excited
about
for?
Mr. Miracle. I'm gonna be so honest. I did see this announced.
Yeah,
I'm still enough in the comic book sphere on Twitter that I get this announcement. But
sure.
yeah, I have no real thoughts. I hope it's good. I'm always a fan of like adult animated superhero
Mm,
stuff. I think that is you can never go wrong with that. Harley Quinn was one of my favorite shows on
it
TV
is.
for
Yeah,
a lot of years. Not saying this is going to be anything like that in terms of content, but
yeah.
uh,
I hope it's
yeah, I hope it's
slightly
good.
different than that genre. Yeah, like
Yeah,
I like Harley Quinn, but like I fell off hard from Harley Quinn,
mhm.
and it's not because it's bad. I just think I got a little tired of the gimmick, a little bit of the like DC's Family Guy, which is I'm glad it's still going strong and all that jazz. But I wonder because when I hear adult animated, those are the kinds of shows I think of, and I think we are shifting what that means in media, which I
Mhm.
like. Like I love Invincible. Invincible is one of my favorite shows of like the modern age, and like that
Yeah,
redefined what an adult animated show is. It's like, oh, it doesn't
right.
just have to be comedy shows. There's all kinds of adult animated shows you can do. So that's exciting. But with that being said, we're going to be shifting into our main topic of today. We're going to be talking about some of our favorite projects of 2025 so far. If that's movies, if that's TV, if that's I don't have any music, but if there's any music, if there's any whatever we want to talk about, this is our midway review of 20. Holy crap!
Yeah,
Holy crap! Look
I'm
at what we
seeing
have
Justin in
here.
the chat. I know.
Oh
I had to
boy!
give him a little
Oh
cheeky grin.
boy!
What's up, Just? How you
How's it
doing?
going, buddy? Just I
That's
want to get you
awesome.
on here. Sometime, someday, I'm gonna have you on the
Oh,
show,
he would
and it's
love
gonna
that. He would
that
love
would
that.
we gotta get it going someday, my friend.
You got to
Someday.
talk about cheesy 90s and 2000s action thrillers with him though, cuz that's the only language he speaks.
That's
No,
great.
he'd be great. What's up, man?
Great to see you, my friend. Great to see you. I hope you have a good stream today. But yeah, no, we're talking about our favorite stuff of 2025 so far. So why don't you get
45
us
minutes in, we're starting it up. Let's
Let's
go.
let's go. Let's do it. So how do you want to start this? Like what is the first project that you're like, man, I gotta come here and I gotta talk about this project?
Um I think you won't be surprised. I think this is the one I have to
Yeah.
lead with.
Mm-hmm.
I think Ryan Coogler's Sinners is the
Yes.
project of the year for me at this point, whether that be movies, TV, whatever. And I haven't watched as much television, but
Sure.
in a year of, I think, very solid movies and cinema so far, I don't think anything crazy outside of this. But there's been some good stuff that I've liked that I'll get to more of later as we go on. And there's going to be tons of blockbusters this summer. But
Yes.
to get a film of this magnitude, both in storytelling and filmmaking, and just pop culture success, like it did pretty well at the box office. I saw tons of talk
Yeah.
of it on
Yeah.
Twitter and just in general life. Like people were talking about Sinners, and I have to say it lives up to the hype in every aspect. At least for me personally, it was the best theater experience I'd had in a while. I loved
Mm-hmm.
it. I think Ryan Coogler's a genius. Going back to the first Creed with Michael
Yeah.
B. Jordan, and then he does Black Panther, which is super good. Um, I'm a big Coogler fan, and the way that Sinners transcends so many different genres at one time. Like I say it all the time, but it is a gangster movie, and then it is a vampire horror thriller with a bunch of action, and then it's a love letter to music and the blues and the South in the 1920s, 1930s. Like, it's so it's the first movie Ryan Coogler's done that feels wholly him and
Yeah.
original, and it's just him unleashing everything he's learned up to this point in his career. I love it so much. It's my favorite movie of the year right now. It's probably going to end as that, to be honest.
I agree. It's also my number one of the year so far.
Let's go.
And I feel
Let's
like
go, man.
I feel like it's one of the only, like, there's been some good movies this year, but I feel like this is one of the only, like, oh, this is a masterpiece kind of movies that I've
I
got
agree.
personally this year, where it's
Yeah.
like, oh, this is something special. And I always love, my favorite movies of the year are usually movies I hadn't heard about or I wasn't very interested in at the start of the year. Like, I saw the trailer last year. I was like, nice, Michael B. Jordan, Haley Steinfeld, vampire movie. That's cool. That's nice. But like when a movie like that comes out and everybody is like, you have got to see this movie. And it's so refreshing because we're in an era of franchises and reboots and sequels and all these various stuff. And I like those stuff. I do. I really do. It's a cornerstone of what we talk about on here. But it was such a fresh breeze to go into a movie that is original, that is fresh, that feels like nothing I've ever seen before, in such a magical way. And you do leave a movie like that, it's like, that's cinema. Like, that is what cinema is. Like, that feeling, that moment when they have like all the, when like they're in the place and they're doing all the music from like throughout history and how
different eras. That's an all-time scene. That's, you have to, if you miss that in the theater, I'm genuinely sorry for you. It'll still be amazing watching it at home, so I encourage everyone to check it out. But that musical scene, transforming eras and mixing everything together and like literally burning the house down like a barn burner, literally. I knew right when I saw it, I was like, oh, that's a movie moment I'm never gonna forget.
Yeah.
And we don't get that many of those. Like,
agreed.
Those true, like, I'll remember seeing that for the first time forever. That truly felt like one of those moments to me.
I would agree with that. Like, I think we get so many things nowadays. It's hard for, like, and of course we don't know what's going to be iconic in 15 years, but I feel like Sinners feels like a movie that in 15, 20, 30 years, people are going to look back at it as a cult classic and be like, oh yes, that's one of the greatest of all times.
I agree.
And, like, all 100%. The performances are, it's just everything involved is fantastic with that one, for sure.
Yeah.
For my first pick, and I watched it this week in preparation for this episode. I planned to watch a whole bunch of movies this week in prep, and this was the only one I watched this week, unfortunately. But and it's weird for me to be very onto this movie because it's the first installment of this franchise I've ever seen. But I hopped onto it because friends told me, hey, you can watch this one without any of the others, and that's Predator: Killer of Killers. I watched that trailer when it first came out a couple months ago, and I was like, that looks really awesome. That looks really sick. I was like, I'm going to have to get caught up. And I do plan to get caught up on this franchise, hopefully sometime this year. But it's such a cool experience. It is such a cool installment that it makes me worried that I'm not going to like the other ones as much in comparison, right? Like, the very similar vibe to Transformers 1 last year, where like
I good watched, by the way. Oh man,
so good,
really good.
And now
movie.
I don't want to watch the others because I was like, there's no way they can compete. There's no way they can compete. What's up, Jordan? How's it going, buddy? How's it going, bud? But yeah, no, this is very cool. I don't know how much of the movie you know about, but the whole kind of thing is it takes place between 3 different various time periods throughout history, and it follows 3 different people and their journeys fighting the Predator and like what they're various doing. One is like from Japan, one's like this Viking story, one's like a 1940s war movie, and it all kind of comes together in a way that feels so satisfying. All these characters are on screen, not very long because it's basically 3 separate stories, but I feel attached to all of them, and it feels like this very special journey within all of them. And then when it does kind of connect into one large thing, I was wondering how they're going to go about that, because it definitely reminded me of What If. I don't know how much of that show you watch, but how they would have these various stories and then they would connect in a way. And I don't think that show always landed that concept. And to me, and again, someone who hasn't seen the other movies, maybe people who have seen it hate it or something, I have no idea. But from someone who's coming into that for the first time, it is such a cool thing, the way they ended up doing this and the way they executed this process, in my opinion. And I am excited because I hear Prey is also incredible. And I hear it's like these two movies are kind of in the same vein in terms of what they've done. So I'm excited to jump into that one as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. That makes me super happy to hear. I think I knew about this new Predator. It's animated, right?
It is, yes.
Yeah, and it's on Disney Plus, correct?
It's on Hulu, Disney Plus.
Oh,
Yeah.
Hulu, Disney Plus. Okay, yeah. I think I have. I don't know. See, I've been cycling through streaming services that I own and don't own recently, so I don't know. But I would love to watch it. I think the best thing that's ever happened to the Predator franchise is realizing, yo, what if we just put a Predator in every different time period or era in the world, like throughout history. Like, let's just put a Predator with the Roman Empire. Let's put one with a Native American tribe. Let's put one, like all you're saying, the Vikings and the samurai, whatever. What's up, Mrs. Just? That's awesome. We got the family in the house. proud mother of 2 now. I don't know if you knew.
Hell yeah.
But
I think I did know that. Yeah.
Yeah. Congratulations to you both.
But
yeah, I want to check this out because I was never crazy into Predator. I think my dad showed me like the first one or maybe the first 2, and I thought they were cool, but it didn't really speak to me. And then I watched Prey a couple years ago and was blown away. I think Prey is awesome. That's funny. Let me get the babies in here real quick. But we've also got Badlands, Predator Badlands coming out later this year. So
yeah,
Predator feels like one of the rare franchises that is actually finding a true second wind 30 years, 40 years after it started, because it kind of, I think, fizzled out. And then even like Shane Black did a remake or a new installment in 2018, I think, which was terrible. Like everyone hated that movie. And so then it was like, oh, it's done. But no, then they make Prey. They make this sounds super cool. I'm going to have to try to check it out. I'm glad you liked it. And then Badlands coming out later. But I do think just the core principle of what if we just put a Predator anywhere we wanted and explored how that played out is super interesting.
That's like, it feels like that movie is this exact pitch of like, you like that, here's 3 different ones that you can explore. And I feel like the whole kind of universe is doing that too right now, because also Alien is in another era, because they had Romulus last year, which a lot of people liked. We have the Alien TV show this year.
Romulus was good.
Yeah, and you know, I don't know if it will happen, but I know a lot of my friends are like, hey, things are moving forward on both franchises. Do you want to do another Alien versus Predator kind of thing? Like, if that is that what you're building towards potentially? So that'd be, I don't know. We'll see. I'd like to at least do an Alien journey going into that new show that comes out this fall, because I like that trailer. Looks so much fun. All right. Do you have a second pick for us, Mr. Everest?
Yeah, I can swing it over to TV for one of the few things that I did watch. I'll get one out of the way. I really like The Pit. I got into The Pit train on HBO Max. On Max Can we talk briefly about how stupid it is that Max is going back to HBO Max?
HBO Max, yeah.
Their mind, and they it's ridiculous.
Splitting again.
Yeah. WB Discovery needs to figure it out. But yeah, The Pit is the new medical emergency room kind of thriller, and every episode is 1 hour.
1 hour,
yeah. And it's really cool. I can't binge it because it is pretty heavy, and there's a lot of oh my god, this is kind of the worst thing to ever happen to a person ever, and they're just yeah, let's get through it. So it's a little difficult to just go, but the characters are written so well. It feels like a medical drama that really cares about filmmaking and true television production as well as
Yeah.
just like writing awesome characters. Yeah, Mrs. Just says she's medical. It is very real life. I love watching the Dr. Mike reactions to it on YouTube too, because he gets super into it, and that's awesome.
Yeah.
No,
I really want to go through it. Like I haven't.
I think you'd like it genuinely. I think it has the character building that you would love in it to add to this. I mean, I know you watched The Good Doctor, and a lot of that was probably more character, personal focused than the actual medical stuff for you. But,
sure.
I think The Pit's better than The Good Doctor. I think it's way more real, and it's way more like.
I fell off that show so hard. Like a
lot of us did.
I like looking back on it. I was like, I like that. Oh boy.
Yeah, it's not great.
But, no, for sure not. But yeah, no, like The Pit, like kind of took the world by storm. Like it was first announced, and I was like, oh, it's just another medical show, whatever. And then everybody watched it. Everybody was onto it, and you know, like
it felt like a show that like The Pit feels very old school TV to me in a way, and just how it's filmed, how it plays out, and then also how people got onto the hype train, because it really did feel like it's just good old fashioned word of mouth, and more people are starting to watch it because they're hearing how good it is. Mr. Just says, have you watched The Resident? I have not, but I will tell you that my mom has watched every medical show literally that's ever been created on this planet. You can talk to her about it all. My mom's seen it. She's seen every episode of Grey's Anatomy 4 times probably. Yeah, my mom's a big medical drama girly, so she's definitely seen The Resident. I can't remember what she thinks of it, but yeah.
Yeah. Hell yeah. But yeah, no, like I'm hoping to get to it at some point this year. I'm hoping to circle back around, especially since they've said they're going to try and get like a new season out like every single year, which
real TV, baby. Let's do it.
It's back. Oh boy. Okay. I guess I'll go with the show too. I guess I'll give a shout out to The Last of Us this season. One of the biggest shows of the year, obviously for many reasons. I don't know if Just is still in the chat here, but
I know I'm like Just better still be in the chat because he's on that.
Yeah, this show. I know season 2 got a lot of more hate than season 1 did, as it's going to, like based on what the season does and what that template is. I still think it's one of the best shows of the year, in my opinion. It's currently my number 6 in terms of TV shows I've seen. It's such a fun. I don't know. Fun's not the right word, but it is to me such a phenomenon of a TV show. Despite where they do drop the ball in various different things, I still think it remains as one of TV's best shows, and just especially from like. I feel like if you played the games, you probably like it less, because I know there's a lot of like, well, they took this out and then they did this and then they did this, which I think is valid. I think all of that is very valid. And as someone who has played the games, yes, that's valid. But I think it's still really solid television. I think it still has had some of my favorite episodes of television of the year so far. I don't know if you know what happens in that second game or happens in that second season in terms of like what that big reveal is and why everyone was angry about it in the games and in the show, but they do that thing this season, and I think the way they executed that was really, really good. And there was a Backflash episode this season that was incredible, just absolutely incredible. So yeah, that's pretty high on my list. Are you a fan of that franchise like at all? Is that something that you ever got into?
I've never gotten fully into it. My dad watches the show, or at least watched the first season.
Gotcha.
He's never played the games, but my girlfriend watches it with her mom. They're big into it. I've heard it's I believe that it's really good, and I'm happy you're enjoying it so much. It's just never been one that I've gotten into, it seems like, as much as a lot of others.
Cameron says, have you seen the new Millie Alcock show? I have not. I have not seen that, but I wish her the best of luck. I know she's going to be Supergirl in the upcoming Woman of Tomorrow movie, so I wish her the best of luck. Thank you for stopping by, Mrs. Just, and the whole Just Fresh family. I'll try and hop on the stream later. If I don't know if it's already over, but I'll try and hop on another stream soon. farewell, my friends. All right, what's up for you, Everest?
Oh man. Let's go. I suppose we should go back to a movie. Um, I'll bring up because I know one you'll probably talk about that is also in my list. Or maybe I'll bring it up first. But I'll start with Mickey 17. That's my other favorite for films of the year so far. I just rewatched it again with my mom. Showed it to her because it was on Max now, and this is one that is definitely not a unanimous, oh, that was great, everyone loves it,
Right.
type of film, but I do see, like, I see a lot of support for it on Twitter, and I think it's super justified. I love this movie. I thought it was weirdly, like, so much fun to watch, like a joy and really just high energy, engaging, while at the same time it is very political, a lot of social commentary, very blunt,
Yeah.
says a lot about our world, and Bong Joon-ho continues to be one of the most interesting filmmakers in the business, coming off of Parasite, winning 4 Oscars, including Best Picture.
Yeah.
I think this movie is one that makes a lot of sense as like a blank check. What do I want to do for a passion project after that? And that comes across. I do like how it's a sci-fi movie, but it also is super romantic, like sneaky romantic movie of the year, Mickey 17.
Right.
And then you just have Robert Pattinson playing one of his most fascinating, totally R-Pat's weird, silly voice, physically challenging, plays a bunch of clones, and yeah, I think it's a super unique movie. I get that it's not going to be for everyone, but I had such a great time with it, and I think it really landed for me, and it was also one I was excited for going in.
Agreed.
Have you checked this one out? You did, right?
I did, yeah. Another one of those movies I didn't really know much about going in. You know, like, well, actually, that's a lie because it was announced like 4 years ago. Like, it was pushed back.
Yeah, it's also been pushed back forever.
You know what? It was one of those movies that was kind of like people were going to go see it before we even knew anything about it. Like, we just had that photo, that poster for years, and I was like, I don't know what this is, but like, you have a great director and you have a fantastic cast of characters, and it comes out at a very interesting point in terms of like politics, right? Like, it is clearly a commentary on many things. It's like, an interesting time for a movie like this to come out.
A movie that did not think the last U.S. election was gonna go the way that it did.
100%.
Very much a movie made with a certain person not being in office in mind.
It kind of makes it better in some ways.
I agree. It makes it better.
As fucked up as that is, it's like it shines a light of how freaking stupid we are as a country, kind of thing. It's like, oh boy. And you're right. Like, it's not very subtle. You're right in that analysis, but I think it does a very good job at how it portrays its characters, and its themes are getting across. And Rob Pattinson does a fantastic job. Like, you forget he's played by the same guy. It's really good.
His use of like body language and just how because you can tell who each individual character is for the most part in every frame, even when they're not speaking, even though they're clones. And that's just super impressive. And yeah, I would say, to your point, it is on the nose in terms of the overall themes, but there's a lot of layers that you can still peel back in a movie like this. Like, a lot of the emotional stuff that resonated with me was kind of the idea of learning that we are worthy of happiness in a world that makes us feel like we can't have it, or that we should be ashamed for feeling joy and happiness. Is this character whose life and the way he makes his living is totally based around dying, like the opposite of life, learning that he can be saved and that he deserves happiness, was like a really, I don't know, I thought just cute, like meaningful, underlying emotional theme of this
Yeah.
movie.
Agreed. It was a fun time. I wish I would have done better, right? Because it lost like a whole buttload of money. Unfortunately, it's one of those that I wish.
It was, yeah. I mean, it does suck. And this was, I think, one of the movies that started that whole like, its budget was this. It needs to make this much to break even
Yeah.
trend that we were seeing on Twitter. That was super strange. But yeah, it lost a bunch of money. But the movie got made. Bong Joon-ho is still gonna get. He's gonna get to make whatever he wants, basically,
That's
the rest
fair.
of his career. Yeah. What about you? What's next?
I want to talk about one that is not my favorite of the year by any means, but I didn't get the chance to do a pipeline on it, so I want to just talk about it a little bit here. It's actually my second least favorite of the year, and that's Lilo and Stitch. Came out last month. Was fully planning on doing an episode on it because I do think it's a very interesting situation to be in, because I feel like it's, we've talked about live action reboots a lot over the years. I feel like we've seen quite a few of them, I feel like, and I feel like we're getting to a point with them where I feel like people have kind of gotten over the gimmick of them a little bit. I think people are seeing right through kind of what they are at this point. That's been very interesting. And I think this one's very interesting because I feel like this is the one that, I don't know how much you've heard about this movie, but this is the one that makes the biggest swings, I guess, and makes the biggest changes. And I feel like most of them haven't necessarily had that problem, at least to this degree. And I'm not saying that's a problem for me, but I'm saying just for like the pop culture side of it, there was such an outrage when this movie had come out. There was these huge fundamental changes that do change the themes of the movie.
Yeah, I saw a little bit about this. I didn't see the movie, so I don't know exactly how they play out within the context, but I saw a lot of discourse and discussion.
Yeah, it's interesting because like they are like the reactions I have seen have been so polar opposite. It's like you either love this movie, like a lot of my content creator friends loved it. They came out with like, this is incredible, this is amazing. And then on the other side of it is like, this is the worst thing that Disney has ever made ever. And like trying to find a middle ground in my mind of like, okay, pieces of this that I agree on, pieces of this that I agree on, still coming out of it not liking it very much. Like it feels like a movie that is like, similarly to why I didn't like the Milan movie that came out back in 2020, it feels like it's trying to do like both things. It's trying to be a copy and pasted reboot, but when it changes stuff, it's so egregiously different that it fundamentally changes the movie at the same time. And like, I'm someone who is okay with these changes if you can justify it within the film, right? Like we just talked about over on the How to Train Dragon stuff, where it's like, I don't like copy and paste reboots. I kind of despise them. But like when you're doing both, you don't have enough time to do either one of them well. And I think that's almost the worst thing that you can do. And like the big controversy of the movie, you don't care about the Lilo and Stitch spoilers, right? You don't give a shit.
No, yeah, do whatever, say whatever you want.
Yeah, yeah. Like the whole ending is like Nani leaving Lilo, and this whole thing with various people, and it's like that's not what the themes of the movie is about. And like I do agree, and I think they do a bad job at portraying that. But like in my mind, it's like, okay, is there a way of telling that story in a way that makes sense, right? Like inherently, I'm like, okay, like I do kind of like the narrative that they're trying to sell, which is like sometimes, I don't want to say this, sometimes letting people go is what's best for them. And I think there, or like, let me rephrase that. I think there is a theme there about just because you have to take care of someone in your life does not mean you have to sacrifice your own self-worth to do so, right? Like I think there is a narrative there. There is a story there to be told, but I think they do it in the most disrespectful way possible at the end, where it's just like, I'm out of here, see ya, I gotta go. And it's like, oh man, this doesn't feel right, especially when the themes of that original movie are so strong and I think are so important, especially in the current day. And where she is going and like how they're doing it. Like the whole thing is like she's leaving Hawaii to go to America, and there's some stuff there that's like, oh, like there's some weird stuff around there. What they do with the villain's kind of weird too, in terms of what they do there. They make one of the main characters the villain, and it's like, okay, I'm down with that idea, but explore it more, like expand on it a little bit if you want to do that choice. So it's a weird one for sure.
Yeah. I haven't seen it. I don't really have an intention of seeing it, to be honest.
Yeah.
Even the original Lilo and Stitch was always one that, for whatever reason, was never in rotation like the other Disney favorites for me as a kid. Not to say it's not a great movie, because I know people go to bat for that original animated Lilo and Stitch. Like, they love it. It was never one that I was forming a crazy personal connection to, so I don't really have interest in seeing the live action. But it sounds like they made, like you were saying, it's so weird because it is almost good to encourage changes with stuff like this, with live action remakes. But at the same time, you have to put in the legwork to be able to make those changes successfully.
Agreed. It's definitely a weird movie, and like I kind of agree with you because that movie came out the same month I was born, so it wasn't inherently at the time in my parents' collection when we had a bunch of like VHS movies from the 90s, and like that was kind of the era of stuff we had. So I didn't watch it, but like it was still a huge part of like the pop culture growing up. Like it was huge, especially the TV show at the time. Like that was airing a lot, and like I rewatched it in prep for this new one. I was like, oh. Actually, that's probably the worst thing you should do. Like, if you're planning on seeing this new one, don't watch the original, because I think it makes it worse. Because it's like, oh, but that great movie's right there. This is just a lesser version of said thing. So, all right, what's next?
Where do I want to go? I think I should definitely mention Mission Impossible, because that has been, at least in the more like film Twitter sphere, just the talk of the last like 2 months is getting ready for Mission Impossible Final Reckoning, rewatching all of the Mission Impossible movies that came before this, which I did with a friend. Went back and saw all of the Mission Impossibles, which was super fun. And I have a lot of love for this franchise. I think it's an imperfect one for sure. And it is one that's not going to be for everybody. Like, you do have to be just a certain type of person to love these movies. But I kind of fall into that. I think they're super entertaining. I am a huge fan of Tom Cruise, the movie star, and the Hollywood person.
Fair, yeah.
I think I love what he does for cinema, and I love that he's willing to continue to put himself and his legacy on the line for these movies, continue to up the ante. And I actually don't think Final Reckoning was one of the strongest installments in the franchise. I had a good time with it. I went and saw it. A lot of great spectacle, a lot of great visuals, great stunts. Definitely feels a lot more messy than the best of the franchise. Like Mission Impossible Fallout, I think is truly one of the best action movies ever made. That movie rules. I think the sort of middle 4, 5, and 6 is like the GOAT Mission Impossible run to me. And then these last two still have a lot of highs, but have felt a little bit of a dip in quality to me personally. But yeah, it's been interesting because it was so hyped up, and then a lot of people have mixed reactions to this final movie. Like, a lot of people don't think it's good at all. Some people think it's perfect in every way, and it's like, oh my god, I just love this franchise. Some are kind of in the middle. But I did have to bring it up because I rewatched all of them in prep for this, and it was a big talking point for sure.
Hell yeah. I was really hoping the fans were satisfied with that final one. I'm still on one. I watched the first one, and I was like, that was goodish. Like, it's good. It just wasn't, like, I guess my style. It was just like, it's not like a movie that's like, oh, I'm super into it. Like, it was good.
Yeah, you're not gonna like 2 either, I fear. 2 is probably the worst one.
I'm excited for when I hear it gets great. And me and my mom watched the first one together, so we'll probably continue through that journey. Do you think it's the last one? Do you think we're done, or do you think there's another one on the horizon?
I never know with Tom Cruise. Like I hope, I said in my podcast episode when
Mhm.
talking about it, I hope it's the last one. I hope that they let it die, because I would love to see Tom Cruise go back to like
Mm,
a more dramatic side of acting, a more like, I don't want to say doing real movies, because what he's doing is some of the realest movies that we're getting in terms of awesome
exactly.
Hollywood blockbuster
Right.
spectacle. Um, but he does have the earlier stage of his career, the 80s and 90s, is him saying, who are the greatest directors working right now? How do I work with them? How do I work alongside the best actors
Yeah.
and really challenge myself in dramatic roles? And I think he was super successful throughout that. And I would love if later in his career now we pivot back from the, I'm Tom Cruise, the superstar action guy, and I'm going to do the action stuff and I'm going to do the stunts,
Yeah.
and that's what I'm going to be known for, because I think he has dramatic chops for sure. And I would love,
Yeah.
like, I would just love him to do a total drama with other famous actors that gets
Sure.
nominated for Oscars. Like, I think that'd be really cool.
You're right, because someone who's not as into him, like, I feel like my perspective on him is the guy that's like, hey, I'm gonna go jump off a building, like, I'll be right back. Like, like, I think my big exposure is like the like Top Gun movies, which like
Mhm.
I like the first one. I love Maverick. I know he's
Oh,
working on Top
Maverick's
Gun
so good.
3. I'm
Maverick's one of
still
the
not.
best movies of the past. Like, oh, that movie rocks.
Agreed. And I'm still not convinced about a Top Gun 3. I'm not sure if that's a movie that I want yet. Like, I hope they surprise me. I hope they're like, okay, this is
Hmm.
why we're doing this.
Hmm.
But you're right. I'd be very open to more a different direction to him as an actor for sure. I'm not gonna do a whole thing on this one just because I've talked about it until I'm like bloody in the face. Thunderbolts is in
Yeah,
my top 3 of the year so far.
I figured you
Um,
would bring it up. Yeah.
it, I thought that was such a special movie. It's not a perfect movie, but I think it's up there. I think it's really,
Mm.
really, really solid. I saw it twice, and I had such a great experience both times. I think
Mm.
that first act is really, really special. I do think the second act kind of, it's not bad, but I think it kind of like stands still a little bit. Like I think it kind of stumbles through, and then
Yeah.
the final act is insanely special, and I think it's one of the most like heavy MC movies they've had in a while, and I think it's like it's another one of those MCU movies that kind of raised the bar for me. Like it's like I
Hmm.
like most of the MCU, but movies like this and Guardians 3 and Black Panther 2 for me, it's like that's it. That's what I want more from them. I like I can enjoy these movies, but I do think we got to expect a little bit more from them. And I pray that it losing money is not going to deter them from taking more chances on like a movie like Thunderbolts, because it is a gamble. Like Thunderbolts aren't like that's not a brand people know. These are characters from various different movies and TV shows that a lot of people just didn't see. Like Black Panther 2. I'm sorry, Black Widow was like a straight to streaming movie basically due to COVID. Like it was a risk of a movie, and some of my favorite MCU movies are risks. So
Mm.
I hope this doesn't deter them going into these next kind of Avengers and stuff like that. Were you a fan of it?
Yeah, I thought Thunderbolts was a step in the right direction, 100%. It was definitely the most I've liked a Marvel movie in quite a while. I agree with you, and maybe would even emphasize more so that I think the middle of it really struggles.
Sure,
That was the one thing where I just couldn't get behind the masterpiece, like one of the best,
that's
like
valid. Yeah,
top shelf Marvel, because I thought that middle section felt like every other MCU
mm,
thing from recent years that I haven't liked all that much.
sure.
Um, but I would agree with you that specifically that third act, it all works for me, which I
Yeah,
really wasn't expecting, or like wasn't sure if it was going to. I knew it dealt with some heavier themes and that it was trying to take, the mental health angle, the whatever. Um, I was shocked at how much it resonated with me. I think
yeah,
that third act is awesome. So that's probably the best thing I can say about that movie is the third act truly is great.
Okay.
I don't think it's an excellent movie outside of that. But I think, like I said, it's a step in the right direction. I hope, like you said, Marvel continues to take risks, especially thematically,
Yeah.
with their films. I think that would be the
Agreed.
biggest takeaway. So yeah, it's not immediately like one of my all-time favorites.
Mhm.
But I thought it was really good.
Agreed. While I'm just on the Marvel chain, just so I don't have to go back into it, Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man is in my top 4 shows of this year so
Oh
far.
wow.
I adored it. I couldn't believe how good it was. I was really really shocked because like that trailer came out and I wasn't a huge fan of the animation, and that lead actor said some things that I wasn't a huge fan of, and we waited like 5 years for it to come out, and the first couple it drops and you're like, okay, this is good, and slowly it turns into something really really special. It feels like a love letter to everything that is Spider-Man, to the 3 live action, portrayals of the characters, to the comics, to Spectacular, to like it feels like it feels like they took a little bit of every Spider-Man and put it in a basket, like put it in a blender, and it made this like kind of really special cocktail
Oh
of a
wow.
Spider-Man story that is like very different than any Spider-Man story you've seen before. It takes these new characters and these new themes and it flips these ideas on their head and shakes them around, and it turns out to be a really wholesome, very fun story that does play with like the multiverse of it all, where it's like this isn't the MCU Spider-Man, but it's inspired by it. So it's like, okay, that thing that happens in the MCU, let's look at that thing from a different perspective. Let's do that thing differently. And I kind of prefer it to the MCU version of Spider-Man. Like I love Tom Holland's version, but I think it kind of takes the stuff I love from his version and then kind of fixes the stuff I don't love so much. And it's like, I kind of wish they just did this thing and did it this way. And it's like, that's really interesting the way they ended up going about it. I'm really excited for more. I know we have season 2 and 3 on the way, and I'm excited to see what they do with upcoming seasons for sure.
That's great. I honestly haven't heard that much about the show other than I think seeing you rave about it.
Sure.
Has Connor been watching too?
Connor also loved it, yeah.
He loved it. I might have to check it out.
I think
I
Connor
love
said is his
Spider-Man.
favorite animated Marvel thing, which is or like
Okay.
show, like his favorite animated show, which
Not a-
I don't know if I'd fully agree with that, but just because I've seen more it would be the only reason I feel like. But
yeah, he hasn't.
I
He
think you'd
hasn't seen
enjoy it.
them
I
much,
think
but
I think if you're a fan of Spider-Man, I think you'd probably be pretty into it.
okay, maybe I'll check it out. I love Spider-Man. It hasn't been one that's been on my radar, so
Valid.
gives me more stuff to watch. Yeah.
All right, we're kind of. I think we're kind of coming up on our last couple here, so let's just do maybe 2 more each, and then we'll.
Okay, that's perfect because that's pretty much what I have left. I can briefly touch on the White Lotus, which I got sort of into. Literal years after Darren going, hey, have you heard about this White Lotus? Have you checked out the White Lotus? I think you might like it. I got caught up. I watched the first 2 seasons, which I do like. I think it's an interesting show for sure. I think it has a lot of highs. I prefer season 2 to season 1. I think season 2 was definitely more interesting. The first season definitely intriguing. I can see why it like hooked so many people.
Right.
The one issue with this show for me is like it is just so much secondhand embarrassment sometimes that it's like
you have to keep pausing it. You gotta be like, I need a break.
It's
I need
hard
a break.
to like, or I'll have sometimes honestly, and I don't do this with many shows. I will fast forward through a scene that I just know is gonna be bad.
It's just like 30 seconds. It's just like,
yep. I know how this is going. I don't need to just get me through it. But it says something that a show is able to do stuff like that too, and make me feel that way. And so, yeah, I got caught up. Season 3 I thought was going really, really well, and then kind of sputtered out at the end to being not as interesting. but I definitely like it. I'm happy I finally checked that one out. I don't have a ton to say about it, but
Valid.
I do think it's good. Yeah.
It is good. I think it's a show that I keep trying to rank in my head. That I keep being like, I gotta rank them. I gotta have an order. And I think I finally realized I like all of them. I quite enjoyed all 3 seasons, and it's like it's okay to not necessarily prefer one over the other, just in my personal head, because I
Absolutely.
do that. I do that so much where it's like I got you. I gotta have a. So no, I just like the show. They're all really fun in various interesting ways. Like they all have their ups and probably their downs, and I 100% agree with you. It is like cringe in shows are hard for me. It is hard for me, and it is a character. Like the whole point of a show like that is like all the characters suck all the time, and it's just like which
Yeah.
characters are going to suck less at the end of the day as the ones you're
Yeah.
going to be rooting for. So yeah, no, that's a great show. Oh boy, of 2 left. You know what? I'm going to go with Companion. A
Yes.
movie that I was very pleasantly surprised. I went in not knowing really anything. Like I had saw the poster and I assumed we were going a certain direction. It is a movie I think you have to go into not knowing that twist, because I think
I
that is the
agree.
fun.
100%. That's the way to
Like
go with it.
like if you don't know that, I think the experience is, yeah, it was a fun movie, but like not knowing that in that moment where it happens of like, oh shit, oh fuck,
Yeah.
okay, we're going this direction.
Yeah.
And I do think in a world where, especially this year with AI becoming so much more prominent, like I think having a story like this, with AI being your protagonist is very interesting. And obviously this isn't the first story to ever tell a story like this, but I do think it is the first one to do it from this perspective, I guess, and just how it writes it. And Jack Quaid, I think, is a killer this year. By the way, he's on fire with this and Novocaine and everything else he's doing. But yeah, no, like I don't have like a lot to say about this one, but like I came out of that being like, that was so much fun. I had such a blast watching a movie like this, and it goes in directions you don't expect it when you start the movie, and then where you kind of end up in that final act.
Yeah, I saw this in theaters with a friend in Boston, and it was kind of just like we both have AMC A-list. We weren't seeing that many movies. It
Right.
was like, this one looks kind of interesting. Jack Quaid's in it. You want to go? She was like, yeah. We went and saw it. We both didn't really know that much about it. I knew it was like a thriller, and that's pretty much it. And I knew that it had something to do with like a robot, but that was it. And
Right.
when it, like you said, when it happens, it's all like, did you know that was good? Did you know this was that? And we both were looking at each other and we're like, and then you're kind of locked in for the rest of the movie. I think it's paced really well. I think it's just a solid thriller. Like it knows when to subvert expectations and go in a direction you haven't seen before, while also leaning into what works in that sort of genre. And it's not a perfect movie either. Like I do think there are areas where the pacing
Agreed.
could be improved, or where it gets a little like, oh yeah, we're doing this, okay. But it always picks itself back up, and I ended up just really liking it. I'm glad you brought it up, because that was one I felt like I've talked a little bit about in the past. I wasn't necessarily going to bring it up here, but really good movie.
Absolutely. All right, what is your final pick?
My last one, I will go to another movie, Black Bag, which was Steven Soderbergh, Michael Fassbender's in it, and it's kind of like a super low-key spy thriller. Also came out around Mickey 17, a little bit after, like that weird spring March release, and not a lot of people saw it, unfortunately, but this was another one. This was one that caused discourse in my sphere, where it was like, man, people keep saying like, oh, we want just like original mid-budget, like mid-budget, cool, just like movies for adults. And then this came out and it didn't really make a lot of money. which is unfortunate, but I think it's really good. Kate Blanchett is in it as well, and she's just an incredible actress.
Right.
And what's really cool is it's a spy thriller, but it's kind of an Aaron Sorkin type script, and it's all talking and quieter scenes and like really cool dialogue that is just engaging and moves you through. It's 90 minutes long, like hour and a half. Cut it there, no longer than it needs to be. Tells a cool story and gets out. And I really respect that in this day and age, that a movie can come out and it's like get a bunch of actors who know what they're doing, get a kind of simple but cool premise, a really really well written script, and just shoot it. And it doesn't have to be 2.5 hours long. It doesn't have to have crazy spectacle. It doesn't need any of that. It's just a good movie.
Agreed. Yeah, I think that is a big. I can go down the tangent so many times about the like we want original content, but virtual content doesn't do well, and it's hard to market, and it's hard to get new people on board. I've barely heard anything about that movie, and I think that's probably an issue. Like, it's not one I've. Yeah. I think I do like remember something about it, but like none of my friends have talked about it in my inner circle. I hadn't seen it, and it is a shame that there's so many of those every single year that just they come out, they're great, but no one sees it because they're watching whatever new big huge Disney movies out or what big franchise movies out at the time.
And this is Sinners, Mickey 17, like those are pretty much my clear-cut favorites. I would even say Companion I probably prefer slightly over Black Bag. So Black Bag's not like a masterpiece, but it's just one I want to highlight because it was an example of very middle budget film coming out looking great, 90 minutes long, fun time at the theater, really good dialogue, and it works. And it's nothing special, but it kind of is special in that way.
100%.
Yeah. All right, take us home, Darren.
So I'm not going to choose this one, but I do just want to shout it out because it is my number one. And I'm not choosing it just because we already kind of talked about it and you haven't seen it yet, so I'm not trying to get into that territory. But Severance is the best show of the year so far, in my opinion. It's my number one. So shout out to Severance. Amazing.
Got to get caught up. Severance.
It's like I think it's like slightly below season one for me, but to me there isn't like a drop in quality in my opinion outside of maybe like one episode. And my pick, I'm just going for it. I finished it today. I really enjoyed it. The world's kind of talking about it quite a bit. FX Adults, that's currently
heard about this one a lot.
It's, it was described to me as like Always Sunny in Philadelphia, but they're all Gen Z. And I was like, that sounds kind of interesting. It is such a fun show to watch. And, I feel like most of the shows I end up watching nowadays are just like stuff for the channel. They're big, like, franchise shows or, whatever they're going to be, the big Marvel and stuff. I think it was so refreshing to watch a show that's like, who is dating who? Oh, I need a job. I lost my job. I need to get my job. And it's, it's this comedy. These actors are really, really good in here. I know none of these actors except for Charlotte Cox, who is in the show, which I was not expecting to be in the show. But it's a very funny, it's very, it feels very energetic. And I think what I like so much about it is it feels very simple, like it feels like a very classic TV show again. Like, yes, there is a little bit of production on it, but it doesn't necessarily feel like it. It feels like you got 5 friends in a room and they just started recording those people and it's just their natural cadence and it's their natural thing. Like, I watched a podcast that this cast was also on together and I was like, that's just the like they're just those characters, and it feels so authentically them. And authentically real. Like, it feels like you can go outside and film these guys and that's just them. And it's just really fun. I quite enjoyed it, and I hope they haven't been picked up for season 2 yet, which is kind of crazy because I'm hearing about it everywhere. Like, I don't remember the last time there's been this much like marketing for a show like this. It feels like everyone's kind of talking about it and everyone's kind of doing their thing with it. So I hope we get more at some point. It's very fun.
Yeah, this is definitely one I've heard about a lot. Which when I'm hearing about a TV show a lot, that means a little bit more. Um, I have not checked it out, but maybe I should. You know what I started watching and have been actually really into is The Sex Lives of College Girls,
Mm,
also on Max, the like Max original,
sure.
which is, I think has been done for a year or two now.
Hmm.
But already into season 2, and it's similarly like not all of it's realistic. Like it is very much like over the top in some ways, but at the same time, it's just a funny show where the
Mm,
actors all feel like they like each other and uh like have good chemistry.
right.
And seeing it like being in college as well, it's been a fun watch through in that way. So, but yeah, adults I've heard is really good.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's important to watch those kind of shows sometimes. Like it's like,
Hmm.
especially like so much of my watch these last couple months have been very dark shows. Like I went from
Hmm.
watching Daredevil, doing my like Daredevil rewatch, to doing You, to doing Dexter, and they're all about like killers and the like morality of them and like what does it
Yeah.
mean to be like a moral person. And then this show is just like, I don't know, there's a rat that has my phone and they're running across the city and like that, and then that's the biggest problem of the episode. It's like, this is nice, this is nice, I don't have to question what life is anymore. This is a
Yeah.
nice little step away. But yeah, I think we're gonna wrap it up there. Obviously, there's so many more we could mention. There's been a lot of great stuff this year so far. But just really quickly, just to do a little what's coming up. And I know that's
Yes.
probably a hard thing to narrow down because there is a lot coming out over these next couple
Hmm.
months. So what are some of your most anticipated for the rest of this year?
Yeah, I mean, stuff, it just feels like we get into June and now everything's coming out. I still want to get to the new Wes Anderson movie, The Phoenician Scheme.
Yeah.
Um, Wes is one of my guys. Like, I said for a while, he's maybe my favorite director. I love his style. I love what he does. So I got to get to that. The Materialist is coming out this weekend, which I'm excited for. I feel like that movie has a chance to be a bridge between the like, this is gonna sound bad, but like the normie movie going audience, or even like bringing some of the comic book scene over into like the very Oscars, Academy Awards,
Sure.
like film bro, film Twitter sphere, like kind of bridging that gap because it's Chris Evans and it's Dakota Johnson and it feels like an accessible movie. Well, at the same time, it's from the director and writer of Past Lives, which was a Best Picture nominee, a movie I loved. Did you get to see Past Lives?
I did. Yeah.
Okay. Do you like that movie? Because I
I
was
do.
floored by it. I
I,
loved
I,
that
I thought it was
movie.
incredible. Yeah.
I thought it was like La La Land without the music. Like, um, so I'm excited for that. And then obviously I don't need to mention July with Superman and Fantastic Four. You're gonna have that covered on this channel, but I am going to see both those movies, which it'll be the most comic book content I've consumed in that tight of a time frame in quite a
Fair.
while. Uh, I'm pumped for the new Jurassic World movie. I know it's maybe a classic case of they're making another one. They're reeling me in again. Like they're taking my money once again, and it's not going to be very good. But I kind of have hope because I think Scarlett Johansson's a real performer. Like I'm a big fan of her. They've got Mahershala Ali in it, who they can't get him to make a Blade. They can't give him a Blade script to save their goddamn lives. But here, let's put him in Jurassic World
Yeah.
immediately. And the director Gareth Edwards has done Rogue One and
Right.
The Creator a
Creator
couple
was
years
really good.
ago.
Yeah.
So he just has a very unique visual style and kind of. He doesn't have a stupendous track record or anything. It's not like it's Christopher Nolan, but it is like, oh,
Yeah.
that's a real filmmaker taking a stab
Right.
at Jurassic World. And then the last one I'll shout out that I'm like over the moon excited for is the F1 movie with Brad Pitt.
Yeah.
Um, it's the director of Top Gun Maverick. Speaking of that movie,
Hmm.
and the early reviews have come out just being awesome, like
Right.
saying it's the perfect summer blockbuster. Uh, Hans Zimmer score, and I'm a sucker for this like Ford v Ferrari, Top Gun Maverick, like these really well made, engaging, entertaining dude films. which I think this is kind of what that's going to be. I'm a big Brad Pitt fan. I think he's a great actor. So that's one more I'd throw out that I'm excited for.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, like, obviously Superman Fantastic Four, like you said, like, this show started basically when they announced Superman. So this entire, like, 141 episodes every week, it's just being like, new thing on Superman,
Yeah.
and
Now
Fantastic
it's
Four.
almost here.
I know, and I'm sad. Like, it's almost like I've enjoyed the that's the thing I'm a little worried about, is like this journey has been so much fun leading to it. Will it? I don't know if it can live up to the expectations, and I'm a little afraid that the expectations have risen too high. But yeah, that's my most anticipated of the year. Then followed up by Frankenstein. Karate Kid was right there.
Oh
like,
yes,
right
Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein, right?
Yeah,
no, that's gonna rock.
Frankenstein looks incredible. I like him as a director. I liked Pinocchio that he did a couple years back. I thought that was really, really good. But like, I didn't have much hype for it. And then that trailer came out, and I was like, "Whoa!" I couldn't believe it. And it looks like something that's so fresh, so new, so I don't know, like something we haven't seen before, at least in like the Frankenstein world, if you will. So that's up there for me.
He's gonna kill that.
Elio comes out here in a couple
I keep forgetting that movie is coming out. Like, there's a new Pixar movie.
Unfortunately, so is Pixar, because the promotion has been horrible, I feel like. Although they just announced yesterday they're bringing back the old like bloopers for this movie.
I saw that. Yes.
In the day. That's awesome.
I did see that. That's good. That's good.
But like, yeah, I definitely want this movie to do well. Like, I'm a big sucker for anytime Pixar puts out really anything, I'm kind of there. Like, I'm always pretty excited. But you know, like another original outing for them is very exciting. And based on the trailers, to me, it looks like classic Pixar. Like, it looks like what I love from them as a studio. So that's exciting. Although I hope it does well. Or I'm very afraid of the future of Pixar, especially as well as Inside Out 2 did. And we got Incredibles 3 coming. We got Toy Story 5 coming. Like, I'm very scared. And Coco 2 was just announced a couple months ago. Like, I'm very afraid of, like, if this movie doesn't do well,
they're just never going to make an original movie again. Yeah,
that's a fear for me. Stranger Things final season. I guess I gotta kind of. It's like that's like a so duh kind of like mention, but like, I don't know. It is, you know, it's like the like show of the decade is wrapping up, so that's definitely up there. And one that you also like, the Bear comes out in like 2 weeks, which is pretty exciting.
Yeah, they're just locked in, dude. The Bear team is just unbelievably dialed.
Yeah.
Like, they're just we're gonna make a season every summer, and we're not gonna fit. Like, it's just gonna be here.
And their cast is so busy too. I don't know how they do it. Like, what's his face is, and they had to film like Fantastic Four, and I thought, oh, maybe it'll be like a couple months late, or they'll have to push it back. Nope, they're right on time. Like, every June, they're like, here's another one. So that's awesome for them. But obviously tons of great stuff coming that we probably didn't mention. I'm shocked you didn't mention Avatar, which comes out at the end of the year.
Oh yeah, I guess I was thinking more
recent, like summer,
summer.
That's fair.
But yeah, The Way of Water sold me. I loved Avatar: The Way of Water. I'm kind of on the train now. I'm excited for us to get like a proper trailer. I hope that's coming sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm definitely pumped for that. Also, did you see they announced that Robert Eggers is going to be doing a Christmas Carol adaptation? Did you see that news?
No.
Yeah, so the Lighthouse Northman Nosferatu guy is going to be doing a Christmas Carol.
Oh God.
Willem Dafoe is probably going to be Scrooge.
That's actually
honestly it would be peak. Like, it could be peak. I'm just saying.
But can it be a Muppets Christmas Carol? I don't know.
Oh, absolutely not. That's the greatest movie of all time.
Absolutely. But yeah, with that being said, I do think that kind of brings us to the end of today's episode. Everest, thank you so much for being here. It's always an absolute pleasure. For the first time, I feel like, or the first time in a while, I can ask this question: where can people find you?
Yeah, thank you very much. You can find me on the Mountaintop podcast, the Mountaintop with Everest Leach. I think the YouTube is the Mountaintop of Sports or
Yes.
something like that. But yeah, I'm over there gonna try to get that up and going and do some more episodes. I'm also on Twitter or X. I think it's I might have changed it to Everest on .leach or Everest
Yeah.
_leach. It was Arcanized for a while, but yeah, I think I switched that up. But yeah, you can find me there talking about retweeting stuff that I like and sports and movies. But the Mountaintop, and if you still want to check out the Arcanized YouTube channel, you can go for
Yes.
that too.
Yes, and if you want to hear more of us talking, I haven't made a playlist yet, but soon I'll definitely do so. I think this is your 5th episode of the show, 5th, 6th episode. We've talked
Fifth
about
sounds right. Yeah.
Yeah, like we've done Barbieheimer, we've done Spider-Verse, we've done Oscars. He's done a whole bunch of stuff over these last couple years, and yeah, go make sure to check out his new podcast. In terms of stuff coming out this week, after the credits next Monday should be a very interesting one. We're diving into those new Phineas and Ferb episodes that dropped, the first 5 that we're gonna be diving into, which is going to be an interesting conversation to have, to say the least. I'm going to talk a little bit more about FX's adults over there as well, along with me and Taz's go through of season 3 and 4 of Dexter, a little bit of a mosh posh of different topics over there. And then Pipeline next week is going to be a bit of a different one. We haven't filmed it yet, but I will be uploading a pre-recorded episode of the show because I will be on vacation next week.
Yes,
getting out of little old
vacay.
Ohio. Absolutely.
Where are you going to get? Kentucky?
Tennessee.
One of those.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that'll be fun. Are you going to Nashville or somewhere different?
I don't know. They haven't exactly told me all the deets. It's one of those situations where it's like, hey, you want to come? Sure. Don't let me in on any of the other details. Not because I'm not allowed. They just don't tell me. But yeah,
I hope you have a great time. That'll be fun.
Thank you. It should be. It's not recorded yet, so it could always change, whatever. But it should be our retrospective, continuing on our MCU retrospective of Thor: The Dark World, along with Captain America: The Winter Soldier. Two very different MCU movies, very different in quality, I'd say. So that should be fun. And yeah, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I will see you folks on the